Hello, welcome's channel. Today we're diving deep into a controversy that has every fan in Salem buzzing. Is Sophia Choi really suffering from a psychological breakdown, or is this teenage manipulator pulling off the performance of her life? Shocking revelations suggest that Sophia might not have amnesia or mental instability at all. She could be tricking us with the most calculated deception yet. The explosive confrontation. The drama reached a boiling point when Sophia Choi was finally cornered after vanishing for approximately half a day. Brady Black and Steve Johnson discovered the terrified young woman hiding in an empty room above Brady's pub, trembling and desperate to escape reality. Meanwhile, outside the pub, her mother Amy Choi was creating her own scene, slapping Johnny DiMera across the face and frantically attempting to deflect blame for Sophia's reprehensible actions onto anyone within earshot. When Steve and Brady finally dragged Sophia down the stairs, she found herself surrounded by a hostile crowd demanding answers she wasn't prepared to give. The atmosphere was suffocating as Holly Jonas, Tate Black, Johnny DiMera, Chanel Dupree, and Brady all converged on the young mother, their voices rising in a cacophony of accusations and questions. For someone who had spent weeks spinning elaborate lies about her pregnancy, the sudden exposure to harsh reality proved overwhelming. Sophia stood there, visibly shaking, as the walls she had carefully constructed around her deceptions began crumbling piece by piece. The partial truth emerges. Under immense pressure and with nowhere left to run, Sophia finally began unraveling her story, though even this confession was only partial. With her mother Amy standing as an unwilling witness, Sophia revealed the terrifying details of giving birth completely alone in her bedroom, her voice breaking as she described the fear that consumed her during those agonizing hours. She confessed to abandoning her newborn son at a fire station safe haven box because she couldn't handle the responsibility of motherhood, a decision that would haunt everyone involved. Sophia directed her rage squarely at her mother, accusing Amy of suffocating control that extended to monitoring her body, her choices, and her entire existence. She claimed that Amy's overbearing parenting style had stripped away every ounce of autonomy, leaving her feeling trapped and desperate. Then Sophia turned her venom toward Tate Black, alleging that he had pressured her into decisions she wasn't ready to make. Finally, she lashed out at Johnny, hurling objects at him while screaming about how his withdrawal from the adoption arrangement had complicated her life exponentially and left her in an impossible situation. The dramatic collapse. Just when it seemed Sophia might continue her confession, the situation spiraled out of control. Brady, Steve, Holly, Tate, Johnny, and Chanel began bombarding her with rapid-fire questions, each person desperate for their own answers and closure. The onslaught proved too much for Sophia's already fragile state. She started screaming that she couldn't take any more, her voice reaching a hysterical pitch before she began violently banging her head against the wall. Within seconds, she collapsed to the floor in a crumpled heap. Brady immediately grabbed her and carefully positioned her on the floor while calling for help. Fortunately, emergency medical services arrived almost instantly because Javi Hernandez and Leo Stark had joined the search party at the pub and were already on standby. Javi, trained as an EMT, instantly switched into professional mode, quickly assessing Sophia's condition and determining she needed immediate hospitalization. He coordinated her emergency transport to Salem University Hospital, where doctors could properly evaluate her mysterious condition. Medical diagnosis and complications. At Salem University Hospital, Dr. Sarah Horton evaluated Sophia's condition and delivered concerning news to Amy Choi. Sarah explained that Sophia had experienced a severe anxiety episode that triggered what appears to be selective mutism, a psychological condition where extreme stress renders a person unable to speak. Sophia now sits in complete silence, unresponsive to questions and seemingly disconnected from the world around her. Her eyes stare blankly ahead, showing no recognition of visitors or awareness of her surroundings. However, Sarah expressed additional concerns beyond the selective mutism diagnosis. She worried about potential postpartum complications that might be contributing to Sophia's current state, considering the teenager gave birth alone without any medical supervision or follow-up care. To obtain a comprehensive psychological evaluation, Sarah arranged for the renowned Dr. Marlena Evans to assess Sophia and determine whether this truly represents a genuine mental health crisis or something else entirely. Marlena's expertise would be crucial in distinguishing between authentic psychological trauma and potential deception. Impact on adoption and justice. Sophia's sudden catatonic state creates massive complications for multiple storylines currently unfolding in Salem. Johnny and Chanel had been desperately hoping Sophia would confess the truth to social workers so they could proceed with adopting baby Tesoro, whom they've grown to love deeply. But with Sophia now unable, or unwilling, to communicate, she cannot admit to forging the vicious letter filled with false accusations about Johnny engaging in inappropriate behavior with Holly. Similarly, she cannot confess to sending explicit text messages to Johnny from Holly's stolen phone, messages designed to destroy his marriage and reputation. These unconfirmed crimes remain hanging over everyone involved, poisoning the adoption process and preventing closure. Javi Hernandez and Leo Stark also worry about what will happen to little Tesoro as Sophia's situation grows increasingly complicated and ambiguous. The baby's future hangs in limbo while medical professionals try to determine whether Sophia's condition is legitimate or fabricated. Without Sophia's confession and cooperation, the adoption paperwork cannot move forward, leaving multiple couples desperate to provide Tesoro with a loving home in an agonizing state of uncertainty. The question of authenticity. This brings us to the critical question haunting Salem: is Sophia genuinely experiencing a psychological breakdown, or is she orchestrating an elaborate performance to escape consequences for her manipulative actions? We must remember that Sophia has demonstrated remarkable cunning and strategic thinking throughout this entire ordeal. She successfully concealed her pregnancy's true timeline, gave birth in secret, created fake adoption documents, manipulated Tate's emotions, and constructed an intricate web of lies that fooled nearly everyone for weeks. Now that her carefully crafted deceptions have been exposed, Sophia finds herself backed into a corner with no apparent escape route. She faces potential legal consequences for her forgery, theft, and defamation. She's lost the trust of everyone who once cared about her. Her relationship with her mother has been irreparably damaged. In this desperate situation, could Sophia have calculated that feigning a mental breakdown represents her best, perhaps only, option for avoiding punishment and generating sympathy? Sophia's history of manipulation. Examining Sophia's recent behavior reveals a disturbing pattern of calculated deception. She deliberately took a job at Brady's pub specifically to maintain close proximity to Tate, monitoring his activities and manipulating circumstances to keep him emotionally invested. She spiked Holly's Diet Coke and staged compromising photographs designed to break up Holly and Tate's relationship. She fabricated an entire adoption story, complete with fake emails from non-existent adoptive parents in Chicago, and presented forged legal documents to Tate that he trustingly signed. Every one of these actions required premeditation, strategic planning, and skillful execution. Sophia demonstrated sophisticated manipulation abilities far beyond what anyone expected from an 18-year-old girl. She successfully deceived her mother, her doctors, Tate, Brady, and virtually everyone in Salem for an extended period. Someone with this level of cunning and deceptive capability would certainly recognize that feigning a mental breakdown could serve as the ultimate shield against accountability. The paternity mystery deepens. Adding another layer of complexity to this already convoluted situation is the emerging paternity question surrounding baby Tesoro. Recent DNA test results delivered a bombshell revelation: Tate Black is definitively not Tesoro's biological father. This stunning development has left Brady Black speechless and raised urgent questions about who actually fathered Sophia's child. Strong evidence now points toward Aaron Green, Tate's former dorm mate at Salem University, as the likely biological father. Aaron previously admitted to both Tate and Holly that he had sexual relations with Sophia during the relevant time frame. When he learned about her pregnancy, Aaron specifically asked Sophia whether he might be the father, but she adamantly denied any possibility of his paternity. Aaron subsequently relocated to Canada to stay with his mother, Katharina Melionis, effectively removing himself from the situation based on Sophia's assurances. However, with DNA evidence now excluding Tate as the father, Aaron emerges as the prime candidate for Tesoro's biological parent. Aaron's sister, Kat Green, has already stated that he needs to undergo DNA testing to establish paternity definitively. If Aaron is confirmed as Tesoro's father, he would have legal rights regarding his son's future, including input on adoption decisions. This revelation would completely transform the custody and adoption battle currently consuming Salem. Warning against misinformation. It's crucial to address some absolutely disgraceful misinformation circulating from certain disreputable tabloid outlets that specialize in fabricating sensational lies. Several gossip websites have published completely baseless claims suggesting that Sophia was sexually assaulted by her father, stepfather, brother, or Aaron Green. These allegations are not only entirely false but also deeply irresponsible and offensive. No evidence whatsoever supports these horrific accusations. The storyline has never suggested or implied any form of sexual abuse. These fabrications appear designed solely to generate shock value and clickbait headlines without any regard for truth or decency. Fans should categorically reject these false narratives and recognize them as the manipulative lies they represent. If something seems so outrageous that it leaves you gasping in shock, that's a clear indication you're being deliberately misled by unscrupulous sources. Potential outcomes and future scenarios. Several possible paths forward exist depending on whether Sophia's condition proves authentic or fabricated. If Dr. Marlena Evans determines that Sophia genuinely suffered a severe psychological break triggered by overwhelming stress and trauma, the recommended treatment would likely involve extended inpatient care at Bayview Psychiatric Facility combined with intensive therapy. This scenario means considerable time could pass before Sophia recovers sufficiently to confess her various schemes and face consequences for her actions. On the other hand, if Sophia is merely performing an act to evade accountability, she faces a significant challenge, fooling two experienced medical professionals. Both Sarah Horton and Marlena Evans possess extensive training and expertise in recognizing genuine psychiatric emergencies versus feigned symptoms. Marlena particularly has decades of experience evaluating psychological conditions and would likely detect inconsistencies if Sophia is pretending. One revealing test could involve monitoring Sophia's behavior when she believes she's alone or only with her mother Amy. If Sophia is faking her catatonic state, she might drop the facade and communicate normally with Amy in private, then quickly resume her silent, confused demeanor when medical staff or other visitors enter the room. Such behavioral inconsistencies would immediately expose her deception. The role of Amy Choi. Amy Choi's controlling parenting style undeniably contributed to pushing Sophia toward these extreme actions. Amy's religious convictions and rigid moral standards prevented Sophia from pursuing an early abortion when she first discovered her pregnancy. Amy's judgmental attitude created an environment where Sophia felt unable to honestly discuss her sexual activity with multiple partners, including admitting that she wasn't a virgin when she seduced Tate. We now know Sophia had intimate relations with at least 3 different men, Tate Black, Johnny D. Mara, and Aaron Green. Her fear of Amy's reaction to this information drove much of her deceptive behavior. However, while Amy's overbearing control created impossible circumstances, Sophia ultimately made her own choices. At 18 years old, Sophia bears responsibility for her decisions to lie, manipulate, forge documents, and hurt innocent people. The final verdict. As Salem watches and waits for answers, one question dominates every conversation. Is Sophia Choi truly suffering from selective mutism and psychological trauma, or is this manipulative teenager staging her most ambitious performance yet? The coming days will reveal whether Sophia's silence represents genuine mental anguish or calculated self-preservation. Dr. Marlena Evans holds the key to unraveling this mystery, and her professional assessment will determine Sophia's immediate future. What remains certain is that Sophia's actions have created chaos affecting numerous lives throughout Salem. Baby Tesoro deserves a stable, loving home, but Sophia's condition, real or fabricated, continues blocking resolution. Multiple couples remain in agonizing limbo, unable to proceed with adoption while Sophia's fate hangs unresolved. The truth about Tesoro's biological father needs confirmation so Aaron Green can exercise his parental rights if applicable. Most importantly, justice demands that Sophia face appropriate consequences for her manipulations if she's capable of accountability. Only time will tell whether Sophia truly lost herself in the chaos of her own making, or whether she's executing one final, desperate scheme to escape the consequences of her elaborate web of lies. Either way, Salem won't soon forget the teenage mother whose choices sent shockwaves through the entire community.